Hi, I'm Stephen Knight, host of the Godless Spell Checker podcast and general Twitter nuisance, and I'll be reviewing Ray Comfort's new movie, The Atheist Delusion. Nobody asked me to review it, but here we are. You're welcome. Now, a lot of you may not be familiar with Ray Comfort or know of his work, which is entirely understandable, but here's a clip to give you a flavour of the man's genius.
Behold the atheist's nightmare. Now, if you study a well-made banana, you'll find on the far side there are 3 ridges. On the close side, 2 ridges. If you get your hand ready to grip a banana, you'll find on the far side there are 3 grooves, on the close side 2 grooves. The banana and the hand are perfectly made one for the other. You'll find the maker of the banana, Almighty God, has made it with a non-slip surface. It has outward indicators of inward contents: green, too early; yellow, just right; black, too late. Now, if you go to the top of the banana, you'll find, as with the soda can makers, they placed a tab at the top, so God has placed a tab at the top.
Okay, so you get the idea. You get the idea. You know where else a banana might fit, Ray? So I suppose it would be easy to spend the remainder of this video making banana jokes and banana references, but I think that would literally be low-hanging fruit, so I'm going to concentrate on the particulars of the movie, which really shouldn't take me long at all. So here's the trailer.
You know that 54 million people die every year? People just like you and me who love life. If you were shown evidence, you would change your mind because you're open.
Absolutely.
I think I am open to evidence. It just would have to be extraordinarily compelling, like out of this world compelling.
Has this made you think today?
It definitely has.
I'll definitely consider this
eye-opening.
Wow.
I hope I get enough guts to get myself out of this stinking planet.
You gonna kill yourself?
I'd like to.
Can you see what you're doing?
Yeah. I'm lying to myself.
Now, the film claims to be able to destroy atheism with one scientific question. Obviously, the title, The Atheist Delusion, is a play on the best-selling book by Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion.
Science is interesting, and if you don't agree, you can fuck off.
Now, Ray spends quite a large portion of this movie strawmanning. As most of you probably already know, a straw man is when you misrepresent or caricature the argument of your opponent in order to make it easier to criticise or refute. Ray first does this with the term atheist.
You're an atheist, so you believe the scientific impossibility that nothing created everything.
Now, as we know, atheism isn't really a claim of anything. It's not a scientific claim. It's nothing more than I don't believe in God, really. There's nothing about being an atheist, which means you have to even have an idea how we got here, how the universe started. It's okay to be an atheist and just say, I don't know, to the big questions. Ray seems to be working from the assumption that if you don't have an answer there and then for life's big questions, then God wins by default. Ray, as we've heard people do many times before, also plays quick and loose with the term nothing. Does he mean a quantum void which still has some sort of mass? Does he mean the philosophical idea of nothing? He tends to interchange the two when it suits. Here's a proper physicist to explain the nature of nothing.
When you think about nothing, you have to be a little more careful than you normally are, because in fact nothing is a physical concept, because it's the absence of something, and something is a physical concept. And what we've learned over the last 100 years is that nothing is much more complicated than we would have imagined otherwise. For example, the simplest kind of nothing is the kind of nothing of the Bible, say an infinite empty space, an infinite dark void of the Bible. You know, nothing in it, no particles, no radiation, nothing. Well, that kind of nothing turns out to be full of stuff in a way, or at least much more complicated than you might have imagined, because due to the laws of quantum mechanics and relativity, we now know that empty space is a boiling, bubbling brew of virtual particles that are popping in and out of existence at every moment. And in fact, for that kind of nothing, if you wait long enough, you're guaranteed by the laws of quantum mechanics to produce something. So the difference between empty space with stuff in it and empty space with nothing in it is not that great anymore. In fact, they're different versions of the same thing.
Now, the whole movie, apart from being a collection of bad, fallacious arguments, is also a series of vox pops interviews carried out by Ray himself, off camera, walking up to people he's somehow identified as atheists and just asking them questions.
Are you an atheist?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Are you an atheist?
I am. Yeah, I'm an atheist.
Yes, I am.
Alex, do you believe in God's existence?
No, I do not.
And sometimes some of the questions aren't quite what you call tactful.
You gonna kill yourself? Really, I'm not judging you, but you've just told me you're a lying thief, a blasphemer, fornicator, an idolater. Who can help you? Nobody. If a man raped your mother and cut her throat...
Jesus. Now, it's clear to me that the atheists that are included in this film aren't what you'd call invested in these arguments. It often seems like this is the first time they're hearing them. There's clearly some non-natural selection going on the part of Ray here. You can't help but wonder that if we could just access the raw footage here, we'd be able to cut an hour of Ray getting spanked by people who know what they're talking about. But he seems to be feeding on the credulity of people who don't seem particularly invested in this argument.
When you came up to me and said atheist, that's what I identify as, but I believe that there are things that probably can't be explained, and it is possible that, you know, there's a creator.
I'll definitely consider this. This will leave an imprint in my mind.
It's definitely made me think about it.
It's been eye-opening.
Do you now believe in God's existence?
Yes, I do.
So what are we left with? What's this huge argument that's going to have Richard Dawkins crying himself to sleep? I mean, initially I was expecting something a little difficult to grapple with. I thought he'd go for the Kalam cosmological argument and rework ideas of an uncaused cause and put in some pseudo-physics to give it a bit of seasoning. No, he goes straight for the watchmaker analogy. Ray bases the entire film and places all his chips on one very, very old and debunked argument, the watchmaker analogy. It's so weak, in fact, that most theologians steer well clear of it. In short, the watchmaker analogy states that were you to stumble upon a watch, you would instantly know that it was designed, that it was a creation. And as we know, a creation or a design must have a creator or a designer. Any guesses on who Mr. Designer is? It's God. God did it. God designed all the watches, or something. Don't worry, I'm not going to spend the remainder of the video debunking the watchmaker analogy. We've all got things to do. But if you do want some more information on it, why it's so weak, why theologians don't bother with it anymore, there's a few links in the description of this video to get you on your way. If you're not really familiar with this argument, you may have already heard it under a different form. I, for one, have had it come at me in the form of an iPhone instead of a watch. Updated modern version for the kids. Ray comes at a slightly different angle. Ray uses the example of a book.
Flick through the pages of the book I just put on your lap, look at the colour pictures, and I'll ask you a question. Do you believe that book could happen by accident, that nothing produced the colour pictures in the book, that red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet ink fell from the sky and formed itself into those beautiful pictures, and then black ink fell from the sky, or from nowhere, and formed itself into coherent words and sentences, capitals and periods and commas, making sense. Page numbers fell from the sky, all in order, and then it bound itself and formed itself into a cover with artwork, and there we have a book.
The universe is not a book, Ray. It's not a book. I suppose at least he's conceding that books are man-made. As I was saying, the watchmaker analogy is so old it even has grandchildren, namely the junkyard tornado argument. This is an argument usually used against evolution. People will say things like evolution is similar to a tornado going through a junkyard and managing to assemble a jumbo 747. These arguments are often interchanged by very unsophisticated theists, and this is Richard. Now, Richard was one of Ray's unfortunate, I want to say subjects, maybe victims is more appropriate. He's a self-professed atheist as well. Now, I think Richard may have been taking the piss out of Ray, and I don't think Ray noticed, because Richard, when being questioned with this horrible watchmaker analogy, brings up the tornado junkyard argument.
Couldn't happen, could it?
I don't think so.
It'd be impossible.
It would be like saying an explosion caused everything that makes a 747 airplane to all just come together by accident without some intelligent thought behind it.
That's a good point.
Now, I think that's Richard's way of saying, I've heard all this before and I'm not impressed. At least I hope it is. But here's the really clever part. Here's Ray's big moment.
This
is the secret language of DNA. This is the book of life.
Instruction book for life.
Yes.
Instruction book for life.
Yes.
Clever, isn't it? A book has an author, and the process in forming our DNA is sometimes called the Book of Instructions. Therefore, that had an author too. Any ideas who the author might be?
God.
The point I'm trying to make is very simple. Book designer or bookmaker, DNA, intelligent designer. God. Does that make sense?
No, Ray. No, it does not, Ray. No, Raymond. Now, just when you thought this couldn't get any more embarrassing, Ray takes his argument to Lawrence Krauss. Lawrence Krauss, theoretical physicist, the man we heard from earlier, the very smart man, very smart person. In other words, not a complete and total Ray.
I noticed you picked up this book before. Do you believe this book could make itself? Let me give you this scenario. That ink fell on the pages, colored photos just manifest when ink fell out of nowhere. The sentences became coherent with periods and commas.
No, which is one of the reasons why the way that the Bible was written by humans, because it didn't make itself. There were some bunch of largely literate Iron Age peasants who were trying to understand the world and didn't know much about science, and they wrote in different forms books. And
okay, so the fourth question:
could a book arise spontaneously from nothing? Absolutely. But could it make itself? No. There's two very different things, because you're implying design, intent, etc., which is what, of course, you do.
DNA is called the Book of Life. Could DNA make itself?
Well, see, that's where the question is ridiculous, because in fact, DNA doesn't make itself any more than a snowflake makes itself. A snowflake is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it's assembled by nature. It doesn't make itself. It's the laws of physics and chemistry, polar molecules, that make this incredibly complex, beautiful structure.
So that's it. That's the big scientific argument that's going to take down atheism, the watchmaker analogy, or Ray's bookmaker analogy. And that takes up a good 45 minutes of this 1 hour movie. The rest we're just left with various attempts at proselytizing.
So Andrew, if you were to die today and God gave you justice, you'd end up in hell. There are two things you have to do to be saved. You got to repent and trust in Jesus. When are you going to do that?
And then, as we've seen with other Ray Comfort productions, there's a very unhealthy interest in pornography.
Look at pornography? No. You look at pornography?
No, I have a girlfriend actually. She'd be really if she found out.
You ever look at pornography?
Looked at pornography, yeah.
The argument being that we're only godless because we want to spend all day downloading porn and illegal music, which is fair. But, I mean, if you have a look at the data suggests that red states and conservative religious cultures are more likely or access porn in higher quantities and more frequently than other places. And I think you just know if you was to check Ray Comfort's browsing history, it would be an absolute horror show. But don't worry, in case you was wondering when are we going to get to some fruit-based information, it does finally land. Ray lists all the fruits and the natural delicacies we can eat to make the argument that the creator is some benevolent greengrocer lobbing us our $5 a day because he loves us so much.
Atheists also believe that it was by chance that there are thousands of delicious plants, fruits, vegetables, and nuts that are beneficial to the health of humanity. How kind God is to give us all these things.
Seemingly fails to mention all the things in nature that will kill you or poison you. Now, I wouldn't want to leave you with the impression this movie is entirely humorless. There's a section at the end where Ray tries to convince someone of the existence of hell.
Would you go to heaven or hell?
Hell.
Does that concern you?
If it was real.
It is real. I know it's real.
Very convincing, Ray. Also, did I mention that I love Richard?
I want to say, Richard, I care about you, I love you, I want to see you on Judgment Day in heaven. I don't want to hear of you being in hell. Nothing would grieve me more, because you have a multitude of sins and God's rich in mercy and will forgive you if you'll humble yourself, repent and trust in Him.
Am I going to be bored in heaven if I make it there?
I'm not selling it, Ray. Also,
I'm a Christian. I'm not filled with hate like some religions.
Oh, we all know what he's talking about. We all know. Rhymes with Islam. It's Islam.
And this is more serious than a heart attack, so please don't put it off.
Given the overall weakness of the arguments contained within this movie and the the general lack of effort that went into making it, I was scratching my head wondering, what's the point? And then, yes, for just a few shekels, you too can learn the miraculous ways of Mr. Comfort. Why not treat yourself to a cap? It's what Jesus would have wanted. The religious lunatic in my city centre has no merch whatsoever, he just shouts at people.
I'm talking to you about a man called Jesus. I believe with all my heart.
For free.
Visit atheistmovie.com to learn more about the video study and also for details about how you can purchase the Atheist Delusion DVDs at a very low cost.
Now, I believe the full movie, The Atheist Delusion, is available on YouTube, so if you hate yourself sufficiently, you can find a link to that in the description of this video. Last time I checked, it had a Internet Movie Database rating of 3.1, which is lower than most Michael Bay movies, just to give you an idea of how bad it's going. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and give this video a like if you want. Don't let me tell you what to do. You can keep up to date on my podcast, find some of my writing at gspellchecker.com. Thank you for watching. I haven't got a remote for the camera.